Hey Goobs, it's me, Jiv, aka the Redfirst, and you recommended it for some apparent reason. So, in today's video, we're actually going to look at a bit more of a serious topic, kind of. It's not really, it is kind of serious, but it isn't as, I don't think, as desperate or taken to be very, very important, this video. I mostly am taking it as how I feel as a furry sometimes, and maybe you may be the exact same way, and it's why does being a furry take a lot of responsibility? And this is just for the fandom alone. And it's actually something that I don't think is really needed to be a topic, but I've thought about it and I thought, hey, let's make a video on it because I think it's quite interesting, and I also think it might give a bit more insight. So it might be a long video of me yapping. So I think the start of it to how it feels that way is because there's been so many cases of bad furries, and with them being very, very known. And what I mean by very, very known is like furries like Kiro and Sappho, examples, those two, aka mostly. Well, they're pretty much just zoophiles. That's pretty much what they are. And sadly, they were in our fandom, which is not pretty fucking cool. Either way, though, even though we don't accept, these sort of people, there has been other bad furries who have groomed in, PDF files and stuff like that have been in our fandom, and it kind of sucks because, it ruins our reputation as a group. But it gets worse when, people take, people like Kiro and Sappho, and they just blow them out of proportion into the terms of, like, what a furry is, and people saying, oh, a furry is, like, someone who fucks animals, or a furry is someone who's, like, really, really dodgy and, bad. And it's kind of like they see it as, like, an unknown factor when it comes down to furries, because, let's be honest, not many people know what a furry is. Sorry, I've got to be honest. And it's that reason to why. They're trying to find a reason, they're trying to find a jigsaw puzzle piece into what a furry actually is. And people who either want to cause trouble or don't know much and look at the big furries, aka the bad ones, like, that have been blown out of proportion through, like, a lot of documentaries about them, and also other stuff like that, which I'm not saying is wrong, by the way, I'm just, like, saying of what it is, because they do get popular, and it kind of, comes back to us. But it's not a bad thing, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that it kind of sucks because when they, take someone like Kiro and put it into the term of furry, it doesn't give us a good look. But it's like when they blow it out of proportion, it's not really a safe thing to do, and it isn't really a mature way either, because these people haven't done their research into what a furry is in the first place, and have just mostly took examples of, the bad ones and pretty much nitpicked them, and just said, oh, well, most furries are this, and most furries are that, and not really coming out to the realistic form of what a furry actually is. But why does it feel that way sometimes? And for my reason anyway, is because God, that voice crack. But I think it's because non-furries, just take up stereotypes and misinformation, kind of like what I've just said before. But, in the actual way of how it is, because, they really do like taking up stereotypes in, our worlds. That's how it goes. Because that's the best way to identify things. And it also can come out of, like, big sources and popular media about furries, like the news. I'm not saying the news has been calling furries out to be pedophiles or zoophiles, but I know they have been calling I know they've been calling furries people who, identify as an animal, which is just not the case. And also with the whole litter box scenario bullshit, you can kind of see why, that stuff can kind of be in the way of our reputation. Yet again, yay. But it's like I say, I'm not trying to say, like, that stuff's bad, because I don't think it matters anyway, but, people on the outside of the wall of, well, I guess you'd call them the normal people, won't see that as a good thing. But it's like, as well, when it does come down to big sources and popular media about furries, it can also make you feel on thin ice, because, of how much negativity and how much misinformation has been spreaded around something you're a part of, it kind of gets you a bit self-conscious all the time and kind of gets you a bit insecure. kind of like me. But it's not something to be really like a bit of a big deal. But it is something that I did have to deal with for like the first few months of joining the furry community, and it might be the same for any other new furry out there. You just kind of get used to it over time. Don't worry about it. You seriously do get used to it. But it's like, but it does start making you very, very self-conscious, though, you know, with like what you do and what you say, because you might just say a joke, but they might take it as like, oh, you actually mean that. Like, I don't know, haha, I identify as an animal, bark, bark, and they might think, oh, well, you must think you're an animal. And it's like, no, no, like that isn't true. But you know, people do think that. But it's like, even though it's kind of like silly, but it's something that could actually happen sometimes, because it's either that they're trying to find a reason to dislike furries, or they're just a bit, like silly. It's like, now the last question that I do actually have is, how long will this, being put on thin ice and feeling like there's a lot of responsibility when you join the furry fandom sort of stuff, pretty much making you insecure. It does mostly, in my opinion, I think it does depend, because most likely you won't feel it, you won't feel what I've been feeling, or, because this is like something that I have been feeling for like a good year when I joined the fandom. I don't feel it anymore, I just kind of get used to it, I just go along my day, but it's like, with this insecurity, it can feel like a long time, especially if you're a sensitive person, like if you've got autism or something, or if you're just a sensitive person in general. And it is something that could last probably for the entire span of you being a furry, and maybe not, because I'm pretty sure most people do get out of it, get out of that shell, or they were never in that shell in the first place, and they're just like, say, well, I'm a furry, I'm who I am, that doesn't matter, because, it isn't what they think, it's what I think, and that is a great mindset to have when you're a furry, but, some people like me don't really feel that way, because I'm one of those furries who kind of wants to be normalized. Because let's be honest, I don't think being put under like the hate cloud all the time is a healthy way of doing things. But the feeling probably won't last long though, hopefully. But it just depends who you are as a person. But yeah, the last like stage I have onto this video is that I just want everybody to know that people won't always respect you. And this is a very, very, very important, aspect onto things, because people won't always like furries. There's already a bad stigma around them, but let's be honest, even if the stigma was away, there'd still be people who don't like furries because, they look scary, or or they just don't like them as in person, whatever reason it is. No one's ever gonna like get along on the exact same thing. But it's like, no matter what you do as a furry, you will always, you will always feel like shit because of like bad furries like in the past and stuff, especially if you have to speak to someone who is quite uneducated about the furry fandom and who thinks like furries are secretly zoophiles or something silly like that. But you will most likely get over that like fear, and you will also probably get used to the not everybody liking you if you're like a furry and stuff. And to be honest with you, it depends what lengths you want to go when you're a furry. It generally just depends. But it's like, at the end of the day, I generally do feel that, you shouldn't always be afraid to not do what you want to do. Like, just do it, honestly, just do it, because it's gonna make you happy at the end of the day. Like, shit, go public shooting, go to cons, go to meets, like, go to these things that will make you happy, that you've enjoyed this hobby, for God's sake. And it's like, but I'm only telling you to do this after you can either shell out of your, insecurities in being a furry, maybe. Not trying to sound, I'm not trying to sound like mean about that, by the way. I'm just like saying, it's like, after when you can feel more confident on being, who you are into this community, it's probably the best to do, those things. Feel like, don't feel belittled, or just don't feel like, afraid. Even if they do harass you, I mean, shit, if they harass you, take some glory time with them and have a laugh, at least. Just like laugh with the person at least. Or just take the piss out of them. I mean, shit, that's what I do. But it's not like something to be afraid of. It's just something silly. because let's be honest, at the end of the day, does it really matter? Anyways, I'm gonna go now. This has been quite a interesting video, I must say, but I'm gonna go now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye.